All right, round two for the Philadelphia 76ers and the Toronto Raptors on the second night of a back-to-back. Will they get some revenge on the Raptors after that tough overtime thrilling loss by 1 point? Those stinking Raptors. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers pregame show live from the Xfinity Lounge. Along with Derek, Kyle, I'm Devon, and Bree, the president of basketball operations, hanging out on this Monday night. Good to be with you guys on this Monday as we get ready for the final game of the season series between the Sixers and the Raptors. We'll break it all down for you. We are presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment's never ordinary at Bet365. Make sure you use the code PHLY365 when you sign up. We'll get to our pregame picks a little bit later at the end of the show. We'll also share the starters, see who's in, see who's out. We'll talk about, of course, in and out, Joel Embiid, Paul George, Brandon Ingram. And also, we start things off here tonight, Kyle, where we talked about it a little bit last night as we sat on this loss for, just under 24 hours and how things played out. But we did discuss the importance of this two-game series against the Toronto Raptors, with this being the fourth and final game of the season series between these two teams, that while it's game number, 36 for this basketball team, and here we are with game number 37 with where we are, but it kind of feels like, hey, man, these two teams are going to be there somewhere in the mix and fighting it out for positioning in the Eastern Conference, where you've praised them for what they did in Game 3 against Orlando and taking that season series, and the same can be said here for game number 4 against the Raptors. So for the people who weren't with us and discussing it a little bit more in detail tonight after we get back together a few hours after the loss of, while it may not be a must-win as we're talking about game number 80, and you want that, lock in that 4 seed and not that 5 seed because you want to host that playoff series, it's still kind of, man, especially after how things played out last night, you got to get this one.
Yeah, and the reason that we're focused so much this week on the season series stuff, even though this won't actually matter, won't actually have an impact until mid-April, is that there are good teams, or at least probably better teams than usual, sitting in the play-in spots right now. I think Cleveland being the disappointment that they have been, and all the other teams from around 4 through 9, really, up to the Hawks at 9, those are all teams that you could look at and say, there's enough talent here and the standings are close enough that any one of these teams could potentially separate. Anyone could slide based on health, injuries, run of form, shooting, whatever it might be. And so there are a game and a half separating the Sixers from the Raptors at the moment. The Sixers are only a half game ahead of both Orlando and Cleveland. They're only 2 full games ahead of the Heat right now, and the Heat have tailed off a little bit after a better start to the year. The Hawks just traded Trae Young and kind of solidified what they're building and what kind of identity they want to have moving forward. So there's a lot of volatility. What you don't want to have is you're behind Toronto in that head-to-head matchup, because if you end up tied with Toronto, or even crazier would be if you're in a multi-team tie, you want to be ahead in all these different ones, right? And so I don't think it'll necessarily say a whole lot about whether the Sixers or the Raptors are the better team in the aggregate or more prepared for the playoffs, or, hey, this is a tough matchup for the Sixers or anything like that. But you want to get it level at 2-2. You want to get Joel Embiid and Paul George hopefully back tonight as we wait on that news. I don't know if that's come in yet.
They updated the 7 p.m.
Perfect.
report.
So
they're both available.
Both guys available. Mostly you just want to continue building the progress, and I think the offensive fluidity, most importantly to me, that they've shown with Joel, Paul, Tyrese, and the full complement of players on the floor. So again, you're right, Devon. It is not the same as, hey, it's game 82 and you're fighting to take the 3 seed or something, or stay out of the play-in. But these games set up those games down the road that'll have a lot of consequence. So it's a big one.
What do you think, Derek?
Yeah, I mean, look, I do think, and since we're probably welcoming a whole bunch of Eagles fans who might not have been tuning into every game, this is not football. Every game is not do or die. You don't have to necessarily bleed your heart out every time they lose. That being said, Kyle's right. For tiebreakers, whether that's head-to-head, whether that's common record amongst a multi-team tie, this is a big one. You have a chance, you're currently down 2-1 to the Raptors on a season series. It's the final game of the season between these two teams, and you are in a pretty close fight. If you would have won that last game, you would have been in the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference. You're obviously not now because you lost that to Toronto in pretty heartbreaking fashion last night, but you have a chance to make amends. I agree. You're not going to read too much into any single game between two opponents, but with Embiid back, with Paul George back, with your full complement back for third time all year, third time with everyone healthy, a very few number of times that you can count on one hand for sure. It's not only a chance to gain up a spot in the head-to-head tiebreaker, gain some ground in the standings, but also just a chance to evaluate against a really tough defensive squad in Toronto like we talked about yesterday.
And these games, man, they've been some really competitive games between these two teams through the first three, where first game, Sixers win. You get a career game from Trendon Watford with his first career triple-double. Game 2, we talked about that one at the time and briefly last night of how Toronto really handled the Sixers in game number 2, both of those being played in Philadelphia. And last night, Embiid, George, Ingram out. Sixers look like they have it after the Tyrese Maxey made three-pointer. Just one that went down to the wire, fight back after being down 10, and they show their guts. They show that they don't quit like we've seen all season long. And then just a few mental mistakes play out where they lose that one by 1 and a frustrating heartbreaker in that one. So tonight, and as we talk about just kind of looking outward into the spring, man, one thing you do know about these two teams is if they were in the 7-game series, if they were 4-5, right, see those two playing in the 7-game series, this one's probably going 7 because of how things have played out. Or it goes 6 where maybe you have the advantage of Tyrese Maxey or Joel Embiid, and they just show their dominance in that type of series. But for right now, again, although we got our guy Toku Guana 411 with the super chat saying a must win in January, only if it's the Eagles. Well, it's a little bit different with this one as we talk about it in January right now, just because of all the things that the guys have laid out of how important it is between these two, where you would like to have that tiebreaker. Unfortunately, they let that one drop last night. Toronto might want that tiebreaker after the way things played out for them with the victory that they stole from the Sixers last night in the final seconds of the game and then in overtime. So, yeah, just a early season or 37 game, 38 games mid-season where you're talking about it's a very, very, very important game when it comes to when you're outlooking things here and thinking that both of these teams are going to be in that mix of all those teams bunched up from that 4-9 that Kyle mentioned. You want to have the advantage over the other team. Now, you might think that you're better than that team in general. Look, George and Embiid didn't play last night. Maybe they just felt like they could simply beat them. They could have. They didn't. So now things changed a little bit with game number 2 on the second night of a back-to-back. And Bree has a poll up on the in YouTube here, just simply asking, do the Sixers get the back-to-back win, loss? You vote. We'll give you the results at the end of this one. So an important one tonight for the Sixers and the Toronto Raptors.
And I will say to that point, I do think the credit to the Raptors for having a better record than the Sixers right now. I do think the Sixers at full strength are a better team than the Raptors are, especially as a playoff team, mostly because I believe in the offense more. I think when the game slows down and you're not able to just generate stop after stop and run in transition, get into early offense quickly, teams dial in a little bit more in transition defense. And frankly, the Sixers transition defense at least has been better, especially compared to that just dreadful start that they had. I think the advantage tilts to the Sixers because they have several high-level half-court players that, if they're all on the floor together, are very, very good. We've seen it come together here recently. That being said, you got to go out there and prove it over the long term. Certainly have to prove it tonight. So the Raptors are getting Brandon Ingram back into the lineup. So while the Sixers are getting reinforcements, Toronto gets some help of their own, guy who can create his own shot in the half court and has certainly evolved as a playmaker and scorer over the years. So Yeah, if they see these guys down the road, and it is a 4-5 matchup as of right now, but again, we are so far away that it's hard to lock in on anything. It's a series I would hope the Sixers win in 5 or 6 games, but they have to do the legwork to get there, and they also have to keep everybody upright, where the Raptors don't have quite as many injury question marks. I know that Ingram is someone who, he doesn't tend to suffer major injuries, but he's someone who tends to deal with nagging injuries and comes with the frame, right? He's a big guy who's also super lanky, so he deals with some time on the sideline. So see how he changes the matchup tonight as well.
And you mentioned, RJ Barrett, you mentioned last night, he's out again.
Yep.
Yeah, so another opportunity for the Sixers. And by the way, last one before we take our first pause and we talk about Embiid, Paul George, Brandon Ingram coming back for tonight's matchup. Maybe this team looks a little bit different too if you see them in the playoffs, if they make a deal at the deadline, because they are a little ahead of schedule from where they thought they might be, and therefore they may make an adjustment at the trade deadline when the Sixers see them again down the road. So,
Yeah. Yep.
All right, let's take our first pause. We come back. Joel, George, Ingram, all in. We got to discuss how different it might look tonight, and will the result look different for the Sixers tonight as well. It's the PHLY Sixers pregame show presented by our good friends from Bet365.
And guys, you might not be an NBA player, but we can still get you a 5-year guarantee. This time, a 5-year price guarantee from Xfinity. What if you could have reliable and intelligent Wi-Fi, and what if you could keep it at the same price for 5 years? That's the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Imagine Wi-Fi that makes everything in your home work together, that finds and fixes problems before you even notice them, like super intelligent Wi-Fi with a 6th sense. And that lets you stream the game even when the whole family's online. All your devices working in perfect harmony for 5 whole years. And the best part, no annual contracts, no hidden fees, and Xfinity's best equipment included. Take it from me, a lot can change in 5 years. Championships are won, records are broken, dreams grow bigger. But your Wi-Fi, it should stay reliable, and the price should stay put. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities with Xfinity. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only. Restrictions apply.
All right, and I got to tell you about our presenting sponsor here, Bet365 on the PHLY Sixers show. And as I look at the app right now, first of all, whatever the moment's never ordinary at Bet365, I'm looking to see what profit boost they have for you tonight for the final wild card playoff game in the NFL. That is a 50% super profit boost on the same game parlay for the football game tonight. And as far as basketball goes, if you want to jump in on your team and a few of the other games that are played tonight, that's a profit boost of 30% right there at Bet365. 90 million users worldwide, 780,000 events each year over that number at Bet365. And you also get early payouts on the NBA and the NHL as well. So if you're a new customer, you're listening to our show and you're saying, you know what, I keep hearing about it, I never do it. Well, breaking news. We have $200 in bonus bets, win or lose, for you when you sign up to become part of Bet365. Win or lose, don't you worry about it. Just make the bet for $5 after placing a $10 bet, and you get $200 credited to your account. Those bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus, physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. We're back here on the PHLY Sixers pregame show. Sixers, Raptors, going at it at 7:30. We're breaking it all down with the preview. All right, we got Kyle, both Embiid and George back for the Sixers. You talked about it last night where, look, Jakob Poeltl is still out. So Brandon Ingram might change some things, but he's not going to stop Joel Embiid from getting some buckets in the paint. So with Joel Embiid back, with Paul George back, what do you want to see maybe a little bit different tonight? They were in it. They had a chance to win it in regulation. They did not. But offense will look maybe a little different with Embiid and George out there tonight.
Well, what I want to see is just those guys on the floor instead of Andre Drummond, Adem Bona, and some of the other, Kelly Oubre to some extent last night, Dominic Barlow, because as I went back through the game today, and I posted a video about this on social media earlier, one of the things you saw show up time after time, possession after possession, was the Raptors just really sold out to say, Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, whoever's driving, we're putting 4 guys in the paint, maybe 5. And if you want to score or try to score on us, great. If not, kick it out to Edgecombe shooting a corner 3. Kick it out to Dominic Barlow. To a lesser extent, kick it out to Kelly Oubre. And when the Sixers did pass it to the perimeter on those drive and kick opportunities, didn't go too well. They shot really poorly once again. And then the consequence of that was when you got late in the game, especially in overtime, Maxey had gone crazy at the end of regulation. You thought that he had been able to successfully steal the win on the road. He didn't take a shot in overtime after I think it was like the 3.5-minute mark.
Yep.
Toronto, for the final few minutes of that game, hard trapped him, hard doubled him. They're face guarding him off the ball. And so when you're trapping and when you're doubling, after the release, when the ball handler gets rid of it, it goes to the next guy. That forces switches, that forces rotations. And what happened last night on a play that really jumped out at me was Maxey gets trapped out of half court. Edgecombe gets the ball. CMB comes out of the paint. He steps up to VJ. And Immanuel Quickley ends up on Edgecombe in the painted area. And Edem, because he's like, I feel the small guy on my back,
calling for
hands
the ball.
up, like sticking his rear end into Immanuel Quickley. And like, I appreciate the audacity from Edem, but there is a 0% chance you're getting that ball there. But in a world where Joel Embiid is in the game, if you throw to it Maxey on the ball, that's a pass to VJ, and Joel Embiid getting a guard on his hip, like 8 feet from the basket, he's either getting fouled, he's scoring at the rim, or potentially both. He's going to score through contact because Immanuel Quickley is getting taken for a ride there. And so without Joel there were decisions the Raptors could make defensively that they just can't make against a full-strength Sixers team. And then with PG, some of the things we saw throughout the game were like there were possessions where the player who was 1 pass away, for example, is Jabari Walker, who was 0 for 4 from 3 and teams aren't going to guard. Or the player 1 pass away is Dominic Barlow or whoever it might be. Guys who are their shooters. Teams are going to leave them open and say, we would rather you take that shot, even if it's wide open, rather than concede ground to Maxey, Edgecombe, whoever. And so both of these guys, just by being on the floor, take away defensive options for Toronto. Now, Toronto is still a very good team. Toronto is big and switchable, and even their smaller players are really tenacious defenders. Like Elijah Martin is not a 6'9" burly player, but he is an outstanding perimeter defender. He made Tyrese Maxey work at times last night. So it's not that these guys coming back just automatically makes it a cakewalk, a walkover game for the Sixers, but they're able to get into more varied offense and take away some options from Toronto that they used at the end of the game last night specifically.
Now, you brought up the very first play of the game, very first offensive play of the game. Maxey ran a pick and roll with Drummond with Dom Barlow 1 pass away on the strong side corner. It's like that's very easy to game plan against.
Yep.
And you saw it time and time again. This is a newsflash, but Paul George is a better offensive player than Dominic Barlow. Joel Embiid is a better offensive player than Edgecombe and Andre Drummond, and they will be much tougher to double team when they're on the floor. That's a
I would like to see if I don't want it to get stagnant, but I would like to see them take advantage of Joel Embiid punishing whatever front court players out there. Tyrese Maxey saw the double teams last night. Joel Embiid is going to see those same double teams tonight in a different way. So the guys have to be ready for the ball to come out of that double team. So those cuts are going to have to be there where we see a lot of Dominic Barlow, VJ Edgecombe on those cuts. And Joel, we know, is more than willing to pass to Tyrese Maxey, whether it's a backdoor cut where he just simply bounce passes it elsewhere, or where we just simply see a lot of high screen opportunities where Joel will maybe get the ball on the catch, and that release is now Paul George instead of Barlow or Walker. So punish them, get them in foul trouble. Jakob Poeltl is not playing, and if Scottie Barnes and Colin Murray-Boyles are your 5s out there tonight, one of them has to pick up a foul. They're very good defenders, but they're also smaller. Don't get overly aggressive where you're turning into them and turning the basketball over, bringing the ball down. But be smart about it because they are very handsy. And when they do get that steal, they're out. And they're going to leave him behind because he is now the slowest player on the floor. So protect the basketball. Last night, they had a decent amount of turnovers last night. The Sixers did. Protect the rock, and Joel has to be one of those guys to also protect the basketball tonight for the Sixers. So punish them. And I would like to see them punish that front court, make them pay. And if they double, make them pay, making some outside shots. 8 made threes last night, 5 for Toronto on the other side.
It was another ugly shooting game for both
night.
teams.
Yes. So maybe the shots look a little bit different with Joel Embiid out there like we've seen in the past where while they do scramble, they're fast to get to that open man, make them pay. And maybe it's that extra pass that we're talking about where you find George or you find Edgecombe for an opportunity. And when the guys come off the bench, McCain and Grimes, the same for them. No hesitation. If you can fire it up, fire it up. If not, put the ball on the floor, make your move, find the open man. Some unselfish basketball where it's a high assist number when you're looking at the field goals and the assists for this basketball team tonight. That's the type of defense that I was calling for. Joel to punish, but for also when that punishment where it doesn't have to be him scoring, finding his teammates for those open opportunities.
And one of the hopes will be that, so VJ's going to handle the ball plenty again tonight. Him and Tyrese will operate out of DHOs and pick and rolls with Joel. Number one, they're going to have the best screener on the roster to get into those actions. And so that should help VJ and Tyrese get a little bit of extra separation immediately. But also, then you're put in a no-win position as the big. In this case, it's going to be more than likely Colin Murray-Boyles for as long as he can stay out of foul trouble against Joel, which I love my guy CMB. I hope it's not too long that he's able to stay on the floor tonight. So CMB now has to make the choice between, like yesterday, neither big that he played against is a shooter. And like all due respect to Sniper Drummond, but you're going to let him take threes out there, whether from trail or the corner spot. So CMB never really had to make a tough choice yesterday. It was, I'm going to drop, I'm going to get to the rim. And so if my guy's fighting over the screen and he's got the rear view contest and getting to the mid-range, I will be waiting there at the rim for Maxey and Edgecombe. And so he was able to make a few big plays at the rim last night. With Embiid, he could be a pick and pop option out to three. I never know if it's fair to call it pick and roll when you stop at the nail. It's like pick and
short
walk.
roll, yeah.
Pick and, yeah, it's like there's no real. I don't think there's an accepted term for when it just stops. I guess it's still pick and roll. But so if he stops at the nail, all right, if you don't step to him there and you concede an open jumper, that's easy money for Joel. And if he goes all the way, then maybe Tyrese gets a step back opportunity or he can step into some cleaner mid-range looks. One of the things that happened last night too was he had to shoot out of a lot of post possession. Maybe didn't have to. And that's something to get away from tonight is Tyrese. Less of the back down, fade away.
Yeah.
He wanted it didn't really create much ground toward the rim. Didn't get much separation going backwards. So hopefully you avoid a little bit of that tonight.
By the way, Sniper Drummond, since making those 3 threes against the Knicks, only has 3 total threes over his last 8 games. So he has definitely come back down to earth a tiny bit.
Well, how many has he taken?
9?
I mean, for him, 33% for
even
three.
Still, like what the concept of a stretch big when you're taking when you're making one every 3 games, you're not actually bending any defenses.
Yeah.
Also, with Joel Embiid back, while he has not been the defender that we are accustomed to over his career here in Philadelphia, 68 points, remember, last night for the Raptors in the paint. And hopefully Joel can change some of that where, to your point, Bona can block some shots, but they weren't all that worried about getting to the paint and afraid of who was there. Mm-hmm. They got Bona on some really, really good passes late to secure that victory where they got him to commit, got him in the air, drop off quickly.
I think Joel will keep his feet on the ground a little more than the Dem. That's safe to say.
Yeah, so maybe that's something that we'll see a little bit different. And the offensive rebounds, 18-12 in favor of the Toronto Raptors last night. So will we see a little bit of a change in that as well? Maybe not, because that's been a problem of theirs all season long, but he is there. And if he's there, then maybe it's not as taxing as some of the others where they can get in and help out in that area on the offensive glass.
One quick question. Kyle Lowry, perhaps his last, hopefully his last game in Toronto.
That's a good call.
Over under on the minutes.
Well, I know Hedfa in the Discord today was like, you have to play him. Under no circumstances do you have to play him.
I would play him. I would honestly support playing him.
Over under 7.5 minutes.
Okay. I'll take the under, but I think he sees the
Are you
floor.
playing him over Jared McCain?
For 5 minutes? I'll give him a 5-minute run just to.
Well, because
Tip of
Jared
a hat to
McCain
his
is
Toronto
basically
career.
barely in the rotation.
I mean,
so
look, Jared McCain can sit for one night. I'm okay with that.
All right.
I'm okay with
Will
that.
we see extended trend in Watford?
I'd rather see neither of them, and
Tonight.
I'd rather see Watford get some time here to try to throw something different out there and see if he's got his sea legs under him.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and they already mentioned Kyle Lowry said that he is going to sign a 1-day contract to retire.
There you
as
go.
A Raptor.
There's his moment in the sun in Toronto.
So there's
Like,
that.
if they're up by a ton and he comes in garbage time and you do a curtain call, fine. Go win the game. Like if he's not helping you win the game, I don't want him out there.
I mean, that's part of my calculation, though. I think they could win this one.
Easily. Not easily.
Not easily, but enough to sneak
enough
him in
where
for
he
2
can
minutes at the
get
end.
in
Yeah.
there. Yeah. Okay. All right. Starters tonight. Who do we have there, Bree? The usual 5.
Welcome back, fellas.
Yes, the usual 5. Joel Embiid, Dominic Barlow, Paul George, VJ Edgecombe, and Tyrese Maxey for the Sixers. And on the Raptors side, you also have Brandon Ingram back. So you do have that along with hanging out. Shed getting to start with Quickley in the backcourt. And you have Barnes and Ingram. And
I didn't realize they were wearing the
Boyles.
Dino jerseys
Dino
tonight.
jersey. I didn't realize that either. Are the Sixers going back in black because of that?
Well,
they
two in
can't
a row.
because
They
theirs
can't.
are
Boy,
black.
that would be confusing.
That would be confusing. My mistake. They're going with the white. I'm sure they're going with the white jerseys on the road. So CMB and Barnes and Ingram, that's your front court. A lot of trapping to Joel is what I'm expecting.
I hope that I'm not able to do another CMB propaganda tour after this game, because if Joel doesn't put him through the stanchion and punish him, I will be pretty upset.
He is a fun player, man.
And he's
Watching him,
like, look, his shooting numbers are good for the year, but
he
he
is a
still has
fun
not
player.
proven the
that's all right.
concept yet
That's all
for Colin Murray Boyle's stretch big. But boy, the defensive stuff.
He is fun.
He is terrific to watch.
Yes,
so.
he is. Let's get to the Bet365 pregame picks presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. And we both took an L last night because for Bree, the Sixers just didn't win. They got the 20-plus from Scottie Barnes, but they didn't win. They coughed it up in overtime. So there's that. And for me, what did I have? Oh, VJ, Tyrese for 4 threes, and VJ, they hit that 26.5, all three categories, and he just missed that with his 17 points and a few rebounds and assists. So what do we have tonight? Bree, she got away from the just wins. She got away. She said that's enough. Kelly Oubre over 1.5 steals and blocks. That's a really good number right there.
Considering he had 7 last night.
Plus 132.
He's due for a down game, I guess.
Yeah, all she needs is 2 here for plus 132. Great call from Bree. Mine, I just went with the stars to try to make sure that they get this one done. I went back to Tyrese Maxey making some threes tonight, especially with the gravity of Joel Embiid out there on the floor. Plus 3 threes for Tyrese Maxey and 20-plus points for Joel Embiid. That's a plus 105. And if you want to use that as a same-game parlay, you like all of those together, maybe you can go to Bet365, use that there, and you get a 30% profit boost at Bet365 with that one. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Like those. All right, Bree, what do you have for the make sure you use code PHLY365 when you sign up. What are the results for the poll?
82% say it's a win. So
I'm shocked.
yeah.
On our completely
that.
unbiased sample of NBA
But
fans.
also in these mini series, generally
It's
it's
tough
very
to sweep.
difficult to win too, even if you're the team at home.
All right, they split in Philadelphia. See if they split in Toronto. We'll be back 10 minutes after the game goes final. Everybody, we hope to see you then. Will this be an even up series at 2-2? Final game between these two squads before the playoffs? We'll see. We'll talk to you after the game. Make sure you come on back and hang with us. For Bree, Derek, and Kyle, I'm Devon. We'll see you post-game right here on the PHLY Sixers post-game show.
We all silly like the mayor.